What's going on, music fans of the internet? Welcome back to last week's album. I'm Derek.
And I'm Kevin.
And before we go any further, we're going to kick things off like we always do, having a beer. Cheers, Kevin. Cheers, everyone at home.
Cheers, Derek, and everybody at home.
This week we are reviewing Post-Tropical, which is the sophomore release by James Vincent McMorrow. He is originally from Ireland. This album, his sophomore album, he actually recorded in El Paso, Texas, where he wrote, played, produced pretty much everything on this album. This one it is much more electronic, instrumentally based, which is in stark contrast to his first album, Early in the Morning, which came out in 2011, which just had a lot more folky sound to it. So before we go any further, let's kick things off with Sounds Like. Kevin.
Derek, I thought that Post-Tropical sounds like folk, hip-hop, and electronica swirling together to drive away the polar vortex.
Nice, nice. I think that's actually what mine sounds like. I think post-tropical sounds like what most people would refer to as spring, also driving away polar vortexes.
Yeah, you could see it as that. To me, it just sounded like this big sort of emotional coming out of hibernation and this sort of fresh look on things. So yes, some people would sum that up as spring. You're right, Derek.
All right, so key tracks. I had, let's see here, Red Dust, All Points, and Post-Tropical. How about you?
I've got Cavalier, Gold, and Glacier.
All right. Well, why don't you start us off with Cavalier? I believe that's the opening track.
Sure, it is, and it was also a single off of the album. It really has this super chill opening, just voice and keys, vocal melody, and simple ambient flourishes keep you listening right from the start. At about 1:30, this super simple hand clap beat kicks in, along with some more upbeat keys. At 2 minutes, simple drum hits, and at 2:30, horns and layered backing vocals enter the fray, and all this equates to a really great build. And for most of the latter third of the song, he riffs on the same line, I remember my first love. And we hear him do that a lot through this album, riffing on the same line to different variations on the melody. And he does it very well. So this song I thought was a really nice introduction to his unique style right from the start. Tell us about Red Dust, Derek.
Kevin, Red Dust has a lot of the same themes, I guess you could say, going on musically. Here it starts with a murmuring, almost percussive kind of backing vocals, joined by a synth drum beat, really soft keys, and McMorrow's airy falsetto lead vocals. Drum machine beats pick up earlier. I think that really drives the pace of the song along, which really grabbed my attention here. Mournful, there are just mournful lyrics here. Once again, you know, decrying, longing for love, all this, that, and the other, but very deliberate. It just really shines through in the lyrics, especially towards the end. He once again goes back to repeating. You know, some of these lyrics are very meaningful to him, I guess you could say, and we'll discuss those more later on. So I guess that brings us to Gold.
Indeed it does. And Derek, this is my favorite track by far on the album. I cannot get the melody out of my head. I've tried all week long. It opens with these string flourishes, which I think are the harp, not sure. We also get some triumphant horns. It's very subdued percussion and harmonized vocals. A really good line, again, repeating at the end. Time wasn't the only cavernous. Time wasn't the only coward. And overall, he just creates this lush, woozy vibe that really drew me in and kept me listening. And as I said, keeps this song in my head for days now. So really dug it. Tell us more about All Points, Derek.
All points. It starts off with this quick rhythmic tapping, soft drum beats, synths. Once again, as we've kind of alluded to, layering on intricately. The vocals here, especially the verse, I really enjoy. There's kind of a call and response pattern, although it was a group response. And I thought it really kind of mirrored the tone of the lead there, which shifted between light and dark pretty frequently, just very flexible. I thought it just really kind of interesting to hear. Drums come in later on, just really create this large build-up and fade out. Once again, putting a focus on the vocals, just kind of riffing on some lyrics there. Overall, just really solid track. And I guess that brings us to Post-Tropical, my last key track, and also the title track. This one I thought stood out to me because he really took it a lot of different directions. It covered a lot of different sounds, although keying in on one key melody line, as Kevin kind of alluded to earlier. Here it starts off with this eerie mechanical key hook, dark synths, and a very, as I described, omnipresent cowbell at first. This creates a really interesting sound, just kind of eerie, and it really builds later on. The synths just get really large and just build. There's large bass drums and cymbal. All those only augment the omnipresent cowbell. For the omnipresent cowbell cannot be replaced. And ultimately, it just builds to this just chaotic sound, and then it fades in this hazy descending slide guitar riff before building back again on the same melody, although it's just very bright the last time around. There's hand claps instead of large drums. Just it covered a lot of ground, all on the same melody line. Just enjoyed it for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, which brings us to Glacier, which I think comes right after Post-Tropical. It opens very barren and very mellow piano chords and voice. At 1 minute, we get hand claps coming in and some very subtle military drums, along with this lilting piano and very gospel backing vocals, and some very low horns. At about 2:30, everything drops up, and it quickly rebuilds even bigger this time. And yet again, riffing on the same line at the end of the song, he says, "I don't want to go south of the river, face it alone in the heart of the winter." And this song overall just has great desolate lows and great cinematic highs. So sort of what Derek was saying, covers a lot of ground in one track and does it very well. So,
all right,
lyric.
Nice. All right, best lyric. Yeah, you want to go first?
Sure. My best lyric is actually from Red Dust, and it's the opening line. It goes, "I will not cave under you, for my heart is an unending tomb. I will not trouble your rest, for my heart is infinity blessed." And that really encapsulated his songwriting style here. It's incredibly sad and incredibly happy at the same time, and you feel that a lot through Post-Tropical. So, what was your favorite line, Derek?
Kevin, mine also comes from Red Dust. This comes later on, although it really echoes a lot of the same themes. Someone is ringing a bell. It chimes through this shimmering shell that once was my vision of birth, now is my vessel and my curse. I mean, just really reflecting, as he said, the highs and the lows, cinematic. He's really capturing what he's saying lyrically, musically as well. Okay, so overall rating. Kevin, why don't you tell us what you thought overall?
I am going with a 3 out of 5. I thought it was a great album, especially for this time of year. As I mentioned earlier, feels like coming out of hibernation. He does a few things very well. He repeats lyrics and melodies without it getting too redundant. And a lot of these songs feel less like well-structured songs and more like explorations of sounds and emotions. But I dug that. It's very gorgeous. It's very pretty. There's lots of slow builds, a lot of natural, very poetic lyrics. And even if you can't make out what he's saying or you don't want to, you can still feel his words through his singing. And it's an album that you have to spend some time with. It's definitely a mood album, as Derek and I were talking about before we started recording. You've got to be in the right mood, but if you are, this is a very rewarding album. So I'm going 3. What do you say, Derek?
Kevin, I'm actually going to go 3 here as well. As Kevin's kind of alluding to, I found some times where I was not in the mood for this album at times, but for probably a lot of the same reason, it's really good at the same time because, exactly as you say, they're just really slow, intricate builds, just really well done overall. And it really should be enjoyed because there is a lot here to enjoy. So there you have it. A 3 out of 5 from the both of us for Post Tropical by James Vincent McMorrow. Thanks again for joining us here at last week's album. Don't forget to subscribe to our shiz and join us again next week. So thanks for joining us. I'm Derek.
And I'm Kevin. Cheers, guys. We'll see you next week.